Everybody, and welcome back once again to the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil Championships in 2025. It's the fifth weekend of our sprint race calendar, and here is the championship standings in the Carrera Cup. Miguel Paludo currently leading by 22 points to Christian Hahn, who is steadily gaining some ground with 3 sprint races remaining. What a difference 24 hours makes is all I can say. Yesterday was baking hot sunshine, bone dry, and not a cloud in the sky. It couldn't be more different 24 hours later, as here we are ready for race 2 with thick clouds over the course, and it's definitely going to be a very different race battle today compared to yesterday. It was a relatively exciting pair of races, certainly in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. It was a very exciting battle for all of the contenders to deal with, as Marcel Müller grabbed his second win of the season, and he will be starting from pole position for this second race encounter. And then, of course, in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil, we couldn't really fathom just how much insanity we were going to get across 25 minutes. I can honestly put my hand on my heart and say that after 15 years of motorsport commentary, I have never seen a race as crazy as what we saw yesterday from the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil at Estoril for race 1. Now we go into race 2 for both Carrera Cup Brasil and Sprint Challenge Brasil. The championship fight is getting tighter. Every time Christian Hahn takes big points off Miguel Paludo, we get ourselves closer to a championship showdown. But today could make things even easier for Miguel Paludo to finish the job, as he is ahead of Christian Hahn on the start, and it will be a very interesting charge down to turn 1. Good morning, everybody. Jake Sanson here in the commentary box once again as we get ourselves ready for a pair of absolute spellbinding thrillers. It's great to have your company wherever you're choosing to watch from around the world, whether you're watching on the Porsche Cup Brasil YouTube stream or whether you're watching on Motorsport TV. Great to have your company. And boy, are you in for another pair of thrillers. Yesterday in the baking hot sunshine, we had some thrills and spills, but in the cold and damp conditions by comparison, it's going to be very interesting indeed. When it was damp last year, we had all sorts of carnage, and we had plenty of that yesterday. So how on earth we're going to go into today with a clean race beats me. Matthias Camperato, the 18-year-old, getting behind the wheel of his car. He starts 4th position, the reigning F4 Brazil champion, of course, making an amazing rookie season come his way in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. And from 4th position on the grid, he's got a great opportunity to go for a decent result. There is the man, though, who is the favourite to take the victory on this particular occasion. A really exciting run expected from Marcel Müller. He will line up on the front row of the starting grid alongside Miguel Paludo. Then it will be Christian Hahn and Matthias Camperato, followed by Thiago Vivacqua and Antonella Bassani ahead of Lucas Salas. That's just in the Carrera Cup category. In Carrera Sport, the pole position on this occasion goes to Seba Malucelli, who did a fantastic job in qualifying to put himself up at the sharp end of the dais. And then, of course, in the rookie category, well, it was the amazing lap from Silvio Modestoni that puts him so far up the order compared to his other competitors. A really intriguing situation for all of the drivers going into this second race of the weekend. And with only 22 points between Miguel Paludo and Christian Hahn in the championship fight, it's unlikely that we will crown the champion today, especially with Christian Hahn and Miguel Paludo so close to each other on the starting grid in 2nd and 3rd. The grid clears, and we get ourselves ready for another exciting battle as the track officials guide the drone towards the front end of the starting grid. Great to see everybody gearing themselves up ready for what promises to be a thrilling encounter. Here's our onboard camera with our race 1 winner yesterday, Marcel Müller. It doesn't matter how many races he wins, he's not going to be in the fight for the championship, sadly, after losing 3 races in a row in race 1, round 1, round 2, and round 3, while leading to a puncture. It cost him so many points in the championship that essentially he is now just adding victories to his tally in the hope that he can come up with a top 5 finish in the Drivers' Championship by the end of the year. And that is a very sorry state of affairs for the reigning champion to find himself in. The competitors getting themselves ready. Looks like we've got one car starting from the pit lane. We'll try and update you as to who that is, but certainly we're getting ourselves ready for an exciting duel out here on the course. Expect the unexpected. That tends to be the way things work in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, and that's never going to be any different when going into a sprint race. Now, as the drivers leave the grid, we've got another 31 cars heading around the course in very different conditions to yesterday. It was baking hot, blazing sunshine. Now it's overcast and humid. Here's the grid. Marcel Müller versus Miguel Paludo. The reigning champion versus the champion incumbent. Christian Hahn, however, is going to try and stop Paludo in his march. He goes off third on the grid alongside Matheus Camperato, the 18-year-old reigning F4 Brazil champion. Then it's Thiago Vavacqua versus the 19-year-old Antonello Bassani, who took the fastest lap yesterday. Lucas Salas lines up alongside the sport pole position, Seba Malucelli in the 100 car. Marcos Regadas is alongside Miguel Mariotti. He's been an outright race winner so far this year. Lino Perez is alongside the Brazilian Lightning McQueen, Alcifel Manito. Silvio Modestoni, the rookie pole, all the way up in 13th, alongside Isra Salman, the reigning rookie champion. Nelson Marcondes is alongside Nelson Monteiro as they occupy the 8th row of the grid. Then it's Francisco Horta in the Squid, alongside Rodrigo Melo in the Giants car number 29. Rounding out the top 20, we have Christian Moore alongside Gustavo Janon, two men who've stepped up from the Sprint Challenge into the Carrera Cup in 2025. Then it's Rumen Zimkovic alongside Yosemar Junior, who last year his car was in the Senna helmet colours. Carlos Campos alongside Bruno Campos, no relation other than that they are both fearless racers. Eduardo Menossi and Leonardo Sanchez starting a long way back in the rookie category. Race 1 winner yesterday. Marco Billi lines up alongside Vanier Pontes. And then rounding out the grid, we have Marco Pisani alongside Flavio Champao. And at the very back of the grid, it is the number 38, Eric Santos, who's just hoping for a little bit more luck compared to what happened yesterday. As the drivers get themselves around on the warm-up lap yesterday, it was a Marcel Müller whitewash as he took the victory after a spirited battle between Christian Hahn and Miguel Paludo ended in Christian Hahn's favour. Now Paludo's got the chance to turn the tables and take the title fight all the way to the season finale at Interlagos in November. But for the time being, all of the drivers here in the Porsche Brazil paddock want to give us a great show. We've got onboard cameras, far left, Francisco Horta, in the middle, Rodrigo Melo, and on the far right, Marcel Müller from pole position. The circuit is now looking in fairly similar nick to what it was last year when we had a spate of spins around the course. For those who were messaging me after the races yesterday, particularly the Sprint Challenge Brazil, by the way, and were asking, was there oil or fluid down at turn 1 that caused so many drivers to miss their braking points? The answer is no, there was not. And as a result, all of the drivers that were involved in those incidents have subsequently been disqualified from the race, which means that there is an incredible tally, an incredible statistic. 4 drivers yesterday were disqualified from the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil race after dangerous driving. I've never seen 4 disqualifications in one race. That was how exciting it was yesterday. Today, however, it's all ancient history, and we go into this race as an absolute mystery. There's a famous film quote from somewhere. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And what a present. The Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil here at Estoril. 40 years ago, it was the great Ayrton Senna da Silva who took his first Grand Prix victory on this very circuit in Formula 1. 40 years later, we are celebrating 20 years of Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil on the same circuit as we are battling with the elements. And battling with the elements is the very case because we are now in a very different state of affairs today compared to yesterday. And all of the fans watching along on the stream are already making it very clear. Let's have a clean start, shall we? No incidents into turn 1, please. Our friends from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, pointing out, we'll all find out real quick what kind of race this is going to be. We certainly found that out yesterday. Surely it can't get more chaotic than yesterday, right? Says It's Shumi. Well, it's the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. You never know what's coming round the bend. Marcel Müller versus Miguel Paludo. That is the reigning champion, Marcel Müller, in the yellow, red and black machine, alongside the red Brandt Porsche number 7 of Miguel Paludo, the man who leads the championship, has over 40 wins to his name and is a legend of our sport. So the champion versus the legend, with Christian Hahn trying to break in between them and take this championship fight down to the wire. We go down the straight, we wait for the lights to extinguish, and for the second time in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil this weekend, let's race at Estoril. Door to door, down to the first corner. Paludo trying to shake Marcel Müller as they get to the inside apex. He's going to have to go the long way round. Marcel Müller takes plenty of curb to keep his position. And there's a little bit of a fracas further back. Luc Perez has gone around into turn 1 as Paludo is trying to go round the outside of Marcel Müller in turn 1 and 2. As Seba Malucelli goes off the road behind them. Paludo's keeping his foot in. The door's opening for Christian Hahn. He's going to get alongside Paludo now. Excellent start to this race. And so Marcel Müller holds off the charge of Paludo and Hahn. Paludo makes the mistake out of turn 4, and Christian Hahn's getting alongside. This is crucial for the championship fight. Christian Hahn is going to get ahead of Paludo. They bang doors on the way to the braking zone. And Christian Hahn is going to take the inside line. Paludo runs wide. This is bad news for the championship leader. Great news for us, because we're going to get a showdown at Interlagos now that Christian Hahn has squeezed ahead of Paludo. Campeonato P4, that's Bassani in P5. She's made a killer start as off the road goes Paulo Sousa. So Paulo Sousa is off the racetrack as well. So several cars in trouble then. We've had difficulties all around, but Paulo Sousa is the one that hasn't moved. Luc Perez got going again at the back of the field, and look at him swarming around. Spin in the middle of the pack. We've got a spinner there in the chicane. So there's absolute pandemonium again here at Estoril. Those hoping for a clean start, you've been robbed. Marcel Müller leads the race though, but it's Christian Hahn in second place. This is fantastic for the championship fight. Antonella Bassani versus Matthias Campeonato. The teenagers are battling as right round the outside of both of them goes Thiago Vivacqua. Vivacqua has vanquished the teens into turn 1. Magnificent driving from Vivacqua, who goes up from P6 to P4 safety car. Well, that's not really a shock, is it? Marco Billy was the one who was facing the wrong way in the hairpin, as Paulo Sousa has reversed his car and got going again, but Marco Billy is still stationary at the hairpin in the middle of the third sector. Well, very tricky stuff then as off we go. Let's have a look at the replay. This was tough between Paludo and Marcel Müller into the first couple of corners. Müller actually took a lot of curb, and that unsettled him. Müller kept his foot in, and so did Paludo round the far side. So Paludo carried the speed through turn 2, then got level again. Müller had the inside line. He was always going to keep the lead, but Paludo fought with him. Müller ran wide. Christian Hahn seizes the opportunity, gets level with Paludo, and somehow keeps it going round the outside. So Christian Hahn gets into second position. That's crucial for the championship, as now Christian Hahn has a chance to steal the title away from Miguel Paludo. Here's a replay. Have a look at what happens about 4 cars back, because that's when we're going to get the big conflagration. Well, unfortunately our replay failed there, but we can still see from above how tight it was on the run to the first corner. We're going to see the green machine of Luc Perez pirouette around. Here's what happened to Marco Billy. Oh, he got savaged by Luc Perez, who was making a recovery. Perez was diving up the inside line and he missed his braking completely. So that is not Marco Billy's fault, and that's the first time I've said that this weekend. And we've already got a queue of cars lining up in pit lane. Paulo Sousa is coming to the pits. I'm delighted to say that Marco Billy has got going again. So despite the spin and the safety car that he triggered, he is able to at least recover his position. Now surely Luc Perez is going to get investigated for that pitch into a spin. So Luc Perez unfortunately causing the spin there for Marco Billy. At least I have a feeling that's what's going to be judged by the time they come around again. There's some really good battles off the start. great work so far from Antonella Bassani. She got herself initially into P5, but Thiago Vivacqua is making up for the race he lost yesterday. Don't forget, he was pitched off the road in lap 1 yesterday, so he didn't even get to race, really. But Thiago Vivacqua already up at the 4th position, already a race winner this year. Has not had the consistency, but has certainly had the speed. Lights are out on the safety car already. So we're going to go straight into racing this time. But who's going to get the best of it? Marcel Muller, with all that experience, certainly with an opportunity to move his way forward. Great to see all of you tuning in. Friday morning motorsport, nothing wrong with that. Mariela Peña says good morning to everybody. Felipe Nardo is watching all the way from Poland and cheering on Claudio Reina in the rookie category. Well, based on what we saw yesterday, there's every chance that Claudio Reina can end up with a decent result in the Sprint Challenge Brazil later. We only got 3 rookies actually finishing the race under their own steam yesterday, so why not Claudio Reina for a podium today? Dafa Razaka says, keep it clean on the restart, please. And Mariela Peña is cheering on Antonella Bassani, who is already up into P6 off the start. Marcel Muller waiting to bide his time. Now he's dropped the throttle as they go through the hairpin. Christian Hahn has anticipated it though, so Marcel Muller's not going to have it easy on this first lap under green again. So the drivers charge forward, and once again at Estoril, it's green, 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 green as we continue on in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. Christian Hahn swarming around behind Marcel Muller as Antonella Bassani is already attacking Matías Campeonato, but round the outside of her comes Marcos Regadas. Regadas leading in the sport category. He's got ahead of Bassani as Alcifel Benito is trying to duck up the inside and make his move. Good start from Lucas Salas. Not a great launch from Alcifel Benito, who's already lost a position or 2. Christian Hahn all over the back of Marcel Muller, desperately trying to get through and take the lead. This could be a furious first lap, as Marcel Muller has got so much pressure from Christian Hahn to come. But look at Miguel Paludo. He knows he's lost out to his main championship opponent. Now he wants to take him on again. Hahn swarming around behind Marcel Muller, trying to shake off Miguel Paludo. The Blau Motorsport car in blue and the Brandt Motorsport car in red are the 2 title contenders behind Marcel Muller in yellow. So this is where it all gets pretty heated. There's already a potential penalty coming the way of the number 26. That's Christian Hahn. Well, interesting. Christian Hahn is under investigation for something going on with Miguel Paludo as we've got contact. 2 cars off the road, that's Bruno Campos and Carlos Campos. No relation between those 2, of course. And Carlos has gone for the inside of Bruno. Whoops. And trying to avoid him, he's ended up being clouted by Vanier Pontes. Well, that's gone very badly wrong. So both Camposes off the road, Bruno and Carlos. Bruno's got going again, but he's not going to go much further, and he's going to deposit a lot of fluid on the circuit at that far side of the course by the look of it. Whereas Carlos Campos is out on the spot, as up the inside, that is Roman Zimkovic getting his way through on the inside to defend his position from Seba Malucelli. But there's definite damage now to Carlos Campos' race. He's out. Bruno Campos is limping back to the pits, and in the process he's going to put a lot of fluid down on the road. So that could make things very interesting as they come around this time, depending on how close to the racing line that's going to be. Flashing of headlights already from Christian Hahn and Miguel Paludo. They want to put Marcel Muller off as they go down the hill, and Christian Hahn is going quicker than Marcel Muller. He's definitely gaining the ground. So Marcel Muller's going to have to get very creative in defense as Matías Campeonato is trying to shake off Marcos Regadas behind him. Safety car. So the safety car board is put out again, and that's why Bruno Campos' car didn't go much further after all. What a disaster for Bruno Campos. He slams the door in frustration and fury. So definitely not good news. Safety car conditions once again as we recover Carlos Campos' car from the gravel. Carlos refusing to get out of the car. No, I've got this race still to run. I can get back out, a lap down, and I can still do it. Just put me back on the road, please. So Marcel Muller leads the field around and goes across the start-finish line. And there is the safety car to collect him. So, incident under investigation, no surprises at all. It is Carlos Campos and Bruno Campos. I don't quite know, however, why there is an investigation into Christian Hahn due to an incident with Miguel Paludo. I'm not entirely sure what that is all about. Maybe we can find out, but certainly that's a bit dramatic. And of course, those are the two championship contenders that are under scrutiny, under the watchful gaze of the officials. So that is definitely an intriguing scenario to find ourselves in. And it's not going to do the calm of those two drivers any favours whatsoever. But certainly the two drivers being under scrutiny definitely gives us plenty of scope for speculation. Can't find any information on my computer that tells me why there is an investigation into those two. Just that there is. So, interesting stuff. We'll let that one rumble on. Now, there is an advantage for exceeding track limits being investigated. That is Christian Moore, as we ride on board with Rodrigo Melo. So Rodrigo Melo is now in 20th position behind Esteban Malucelli and ahead of Yosemar Junior. So let's look at the order before we get started with racing again, because the lights are still on the safety car. So we've got a bit of time to discuss it. Marcel Muller leading, Christian Hahn second from Miguel Paludo and Tiago Vivacqua. Fifth place is Matias Camparato. Then the leader in sport, Marcos Regadas, ahead of Antonello Bassani. Lucas Salas is 8th, then Alcivel Benito and Miguel Mariotti in 10th. 11th place is Silvio Molostoni, the leading rookie, so he's doing a great job in P11. 12th position is Israel Salmen, then Nelson Marcondes and Gustavo Janon. Francisco Horta and Christian Moore. Nelson Monteiro. And then it is Roman Zimkovic and Seba Malucelli. Rodrigo Melo in 20th, ahead of Yosemar Junior, Linu Perez, Flavio Champao, Eduardo Menossi, Leonardo Sanchez, Marco Billy. And then in 27th is Marco Pisani, ahead of Eric Santos, Vanya Pontes, and Bruno Campos obviously is out of the race. So too are Carlos Campos and Paulo Souza. Now Israel Salmen has dropped to the back of the queue. That's the reigning rookie champion. What's happened to Israel Salmen? He's not come through. Oh, that's what's happened. He's got a left rear puncture. So Israel Salmen has picked up a puncture, most likely on debris, while he's behind the safety car. That is devastating news for the reigning rookie class champion. So Israel Salmen will now drop to the back of the grid if they can get the car started again. Well, they've obviously got to lift the car up, because they can't just change the wheel until they've actually raised the car up off its platform. Not exactly a Formula One pit stop. They're not used to doing this mid-race. And off goes Israel Salmen. Thank goodness the safety car is out, because he can catch up to the rest of the field in the bunch. But for the second time in this race, we are under safety car, and we've only got 12 minutes left of the race. So 2 safety car incidents already. That's how it can happen in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil sometimes. Israel Salmen goes out onto the course. Lights out on the safety car, so Israel has got to get on with it. So Israel Salmen trying to catch up to the rest of the field. His race has effectively started now in his bid to catch up to the rest of the field. I spoke too soon about, thank goodness, him being out under the safety car, because now he's got to catch up to the rest of the pack, and I don't think he's going to have the time to do it. So Marcel Muller backs up the pack. Christian Hahn right underneath him. It's almost like NASCAR as they come off the turn. Marcel Muller not going to hit the throttle yet. Christian Hahn and Miguel Paludo very close to him. Wait for his moment. Now he's gone for it. So Marcel Muller drops the hammer. Christian Hahn's going to be close to him on the restart. And this is the tightest restart we've seen in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil for some time. There could be a change or two down into turn 1. Once again, it's green, 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 green here at Estoril. And look at the squabble down at turn one. Hahn is not close enough to Muller, but there could be a dive forward as Thiago Vivacqua gets close to Paludo and Camerato on the inside of Regadas. Bassani having to defend from Lucas Salas on the inside line into turn two. Good run from Matias Camerato. He gets into P5 ahead of Regadas. And there's a drive-through penalty for Linu Perez for causing the incident on lap one with Marco Billi. I'm not at all surprised there. But he gets a drive-through penalty, which of course he must not serve under safety car. He's got to serve it under green flag conditions. So Marcel Muller leads the field again. Christian Hahn in second. Miguel Paludo third. There on your screen is confirmation. Drive-through penalty for Linu Perez. Lots of scrabbles on this first lap. In fact, there is Linu Perez trying to get his move on the inside, but he's got pressure bubbling as Rodrigo Melo gets on the inside line of Christian Moore and makes the overtaking move. Clean lap for a change. So far, so good. I'll touch wood very quickly. So I leant forward on the desk to do that. And that's why, because Israel Salman is not the only one getting into the wars, because Christian Moore trying to get through on the inside line there of the 29, Rodrigo Melo. Banye Pontes trying to chase after Marco Pisani. Oh, and a spin! It's the 27 that's gone around. It's Yosimar Junior. So Yosimar Junior's got around and there was not enough time for the car behind him to get out of the way. This could be safety car number 3 as Marcel Muller again pulls clear out in front. Somebody's gone off the road on the final turn and kicked up some dust, but I don't think it's turned into anything messy. As into the pits to serve the drive-through penalty comes an enraged Linu Perez. Antonella Bassani diving to the inside line on Lucas Salas, while also trying to cover off Alcifel Manito as Francisco Horta dives through the first corner there in front of Seba Malucelli. A good racecraft then this time by, although of course 2 drivers in the wars, namely Yosimar Junior and Eduardo Menossi. We ride on board with Francisco Horta. Flavio Champao also got caught up in that. Yosimar Junior did complete the lap, so too did Menossi and Champao, so they must have been able to recover from that little moment, which is why we have not gone to safety car again. So this time we remain under green flag conditions. Here's what happened. Down to the inside line. Big dive from Menossi. What was Menossi thinking there? Oh, that was as clumsy as you like, unfortunately, from Menossi. He's diving in to a gap that almost doesn't exist. Tags the back of Flavio Champao, who goes into the side of Yosimar Junior. And not surprisingly, that incident is under investigation. 1 lap later though, and Marcel Muller is leading, and with the fastest lap too, 1:41.329. Christian Hahn second, Miguel Paludo third. The top 3 drivers in the championship. In the top 3 positions on the track once again, Thiago Vivacqua P4, Matias Camerato P5, then Regadas, Salas, Bassani, Felmanito and Miguel Mariotti. Marcel Muller pounding down the straight. Across the line he goes, looking to try and make this benefit go for him as he continues to make steady progress in this race. So let's see if there's going to be another big charge here from Miguel Paludo, charging up behind Christian Hahn. Thiago Vivacqua is not far away in P4 either. So a really fantastic move is needed now by Miguel Paludo if he's going to want to get into second position ahead of Christian Hahn. Well, I know I spoke too soon about there might be a clean lap in this race, but at least the last lap around there was. And we stay under green flag conditions. 6.5 minutes to go. Love it when people give their opinions on these incidents. Looking at that move from Eduardo Menossi, it should be says too late, moving under braking and trying to take the space that just didn't exist. That's not a penalty, I don't know what is. Well, we're going to find out in a few minutes' time. Our friends over in Bucks County, Pennsylvania says too aggressive of a move. And we'll have to see what the officials say. They might well be in agreement with you, sir. And there is another set of drivers here being under investigation for track limits. That's the 17. So that is Marcos Regadas, the 100, Seba Malucelli, the 12. That is Marco Pisani, the 29. So that, of course, is Rodrigo Melo, and the 83, all under investigation for track limits as we go safety car again. And that's why Seba Malucelli has gone around. So Seba Malucelli now stranded at turn 3. So what happened to Malucelli? Oh, that was at turn 1. That's a completely different incident. That's Leonardo Sanchez. And he's tangled with the 83. So Marco Billy tangles with Sanchez. And now we're going to see what happened to Malucelli. Ruman, what are you doing? Ruman Zimkovic battling with Gustavo Janon. And he dives over to the curb, takes a bit of gravel, can't slow the car down, slams into the door of Seba Malucelli, pitching him around into a spin. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, this is definitely a more chaotic Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil race than yesterday, but it's still not as insane as the Sprint Challenge Brasil race was yesterday. Mind you, if we're going by ratios of insanity, they're going to go off the charts in the Sprint Challenge race after this one. Marcos Regadas, P6 behind Campeonato, and the leader in the sport class category. You've got to go back to 13th place to find the race leader in the rookie category, but that's pretty good going. So we'll probably pick him up behind the safety car now. We looked at Marcos Regadas. Where is the number 2? There it is, weaving behind Francisco Horta. Leading in the rookie category, that is Silvio Modestoni in the Capricornio car number 2. 4 minutes to go, and we're under safety car for the 3rd time. On board with Rodrigo Melo. Let's listen in. For all those who are a dab hand at iRacing, that's one of the most frustrating onboard cameras you're ever going to see, trying to get the car up to speed and keep the temperature in the tyres while you're under a safety car period. The lights are out on the safety car, so it's only going to be a 1-lap safety car period. They just needed to quickly move Seba Malucelli's car off the racing line. Apparently, he is going round again. He's a lap down, but I think Seba Malucelli is circulating. As is Paulo Sousa, by the way. He's not out of the race. He's just continuing on several laps down. On board with Melo, behind Silvio Moristoni, as Marcel Muller backs up the pack again. So for the 4th time in this race, we're going to have a rolling start. And this time Marcel Muller's gone early, and Christian Hahn got caught out. But Ludo's going to have a run on him, down towards turn 1. This is for the championship fight between these two, don't forget. As they come off the turn, Hahn has picked up some tow, and with 3 minutes to go, it's green, 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 green here at Estoril. Marcel Muller leads it. Miguel Paludo's going to make the lunge into turn 1 on Christian Hahn as they work their way forward. It looked to me as though Marcel Muller may have run over some debris there. Don't tell me he's going to lose yet another victory to a puncture. It's already happened 3 times this year at Velocida again, and then Interlagos. Meanwhile, Antonella Bassani trying to shake off Alcifel Manito and try and make the attack again on Marcos Regadas. She had a fantastic comeback yesterday, but the car just doesn't seem to have the same gumption and determination that it did yesterday. Paludo still hunting down Christian Hahn as Marcel Muller continues out in the lead of the race. 4th place for Tiago Vivacqua, then Campeonato. Salas, Regadas, Bassani, Felmanito, Mariotti, Marcondes, Horta, Modestoni and Rodrigo Melo ahead of Nelson Montero. To that back straight, and then charging down the hill through the right-hander. Careful not to drop it too far wide, because that's where you'll end up in the gravel trap. Marcel Muller holding the field to ransom through the 3rd sector as he makes it nice and tidy through that hairpin. Bit of a run wide from Moristoni. He's got to be careful he doesn't lose ground to Rodrigo Melo and Nelson Montero. And that's Marco Pisani. The leopard print Porsche has gone around, and he's just driven straight back into the gravel trap. He could get beached there, and he has. Well, a leopard can no more change its spots than a Porsche can get out of a gravel trap. And Marco Pisani is beached. So as the drivers flash past the pits and right up against the pit wall, Antonella Bassani going after Marcos Regadas. Lightning's going to strike twice. Can Bassani make the same move on Regadas that she did yesterday? She's going to make it happen. Regadas is wise to it this time. There's going to be a review into the incident between Roman Simkovic and Seba Malucelli. Not that I'm in the least bit surprised. But Bassani cannot quite get the moves here on Marcos Regadas. As the drivers work their way through, trying desperately to stay off the gravel. Looks like quite a bit of gravel's actually been kicked off onto the racetrack. The drone is ready to pick them up as they come through this long flowing left-hand hairpin. So Christian Hahn still hanging on from Miguel Paludo, and don't forget these two are battling for the championship. Hahn finishing in front of Paludo is great for the title fight because it means that Hahn will close in a few more points on Miguel Paludo. Exceeding track limits is the debate at the moment, as Marco Pisani is so beached in the gravel. He's actually well out of harm's way. They can cover that with a yellow flag. So the battle currently under investigation for track limits is Alcio Feldman Nito in the 95 and the 11 of Flavio Champao. 2 laps to go, including this one. So when they come out of the final turn, Marcel Muller will have just one more lap. Vanier Pontes spun out and facing the wrong way in the hairpin. Get it back together, Vanier, which is exactly what he looks like he's done. Down the straight then, 1 lap to go for Marcel Muller. And he's got to hold on here in front of Christian Hahn. Miguel Paludo trying to shake off Tiago Vivacqua. As Paludo has lost a lot of time here. That Tiago Vivacqua is going to have a run. And here goes Francisco Horta trying to go right round the outside of Nelson Marcondes. On board with Horta. Looks for the move, can't find it yet. Marcondes still holding his line. And Francisco Horta really is throwing caution to the winds here to try and get ahead. Down to the inside line. Trying to roll off the power into 2 and hope for the dive move into 3. And off the road goes Roman Simkovic. Simkovic off the road on the final lap. Goodness me, chaos everywhere you look. In the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, he tried to get going again, and he's got gravel in the wheel arch. It spits him round into a spin, and that's where he'll end it. Wow, what a crazy end to the race then. Roman Simkovic loses the car completely. That looks like that was on his own. So the mutant has lost control. He manages to recover, but in getting back on the road, he spits the car off the road again. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's going to be an absolute perfect weekend for Marcel Muller. Not just 1 victory, but 2. It will be his 3rd win of the season. And Marcel Muller keeps ranking in the points. Christian Hahn is going to finish ahead of the championship leader, which gives us a title fight showdown at Interlagos in the autumn. It's victory again for Marcel Muller. Magnificent race. Excellent weekend for Marcel Muller. The word flawless comes to mind. After all the misery of the start of the season, it's domination at Estoril as Marcel Muller picks up not 1, but 2 victories. Excellent work. It's not often you win both races in a weekend. It doesn't happen very often. And Marcel Muller has made it look effortless this weekend. Well done to Christian Hahn. 2 second places means he's picked up big points in the championship fight. And so we will have a showdown shootout in the autumn between Miguel Paludo and Christian Hahn for the driver's title. Good victory for Marcos Regadas in the end there as well. He takes the victory in the sport category. I'm told that Antonello Bassani was out of the race on the last lap as well. So Roman Simkovic and Antonello Bassani both dropping out of the race on the last lap. That's very bad news for Antonello Bassani as Marcel Muller. Careful with that camera, mate. It's quite expensive, but he's very happy. I think he would happily pay for it the way he's currently feeling. And if we look back, we'll get to see the victor in the rookie category, Silvio Modestoni. He made himself sweat for it because he lost a lot of places on the road, and it wasn't that far away for Leonardo Sanchez to get ahead of him. But Silvio Modestoni, there he is in car number 2, has come through to take the victory in the rookie class. Great work from Silvio Modestoni this weekend. And that's a very important victory again to keep the fight alive heading to Interlagos, back home in Brazil. So an excellent display then from Marcel Müller this weekend. It's been pretty much perfection. And he didn't need to worry too much about how difficult it was going to be in the end. Nice and tidy from Marcel Müller. Christian Hahn second and Miguel Paludo third. The same top three as yesterday. But for us, what that means is we get a title fight back home at Interlagos in Sao Paulo. As Marcel Müller can't wait to get out of the car, greet his crew, and stand on the roof of the number 544 to take a double victory. Forget Velocida, forget Interlagos at the start of the year. This is what Marcel Müller's good at. The championship may be gone, but he's still showing everybody that he is the best driver in the paddock right now. Great run from Marcos Regadas, 2 wins out of 2 in the sport category. A very exciting battle from Marcos Regadas this weekend. Good to see him pick up a pair of victories in sport. And there's a different winner in rookie. Yesterday it was Leonardo Sanchez. Today it's Silvio Monastoni. So as Marcel Müller chats in conversation with Miss Diaz once again down in pit lane. Chris Diaz doing what she does best as always. But a fantastic run for this man, Marcos Regadas. Another victory, 2 out of 2 this weekend. That certainly helps him out in the championship fight in the sport category. And there is a very happy Silvio Monastoni. That was a victory he's been waiting for all weekend. He managed to turn his weekend around in Q2. And that is what victory means to Silvio Monastoni. Joyful scenes down in pit lane. Isn't it wonderful to see drivers winning races and being delighted about it when they get out of the car? If you want emotion, trust the Latin Americans. They've got it in bucketfuls. Wonderful scenes here. Great performance and a great emotional moment for all of the drivers concerned. Excellent scenes and wonderful to see. And of course, in the championship battle, that means that it's 1 apiece for Moristoni and Sanchez this weekend. And that means that the championship fight between Moristoni and Sanchez is just 9 points heading to the season finale at Interlagos. Very exciting stuff indeed. So now we get ourselves continuing. Here's the order. Marcel Müller, 9/10 of a second ahead of Christian Hahn at the flag. Miguel Paludo in third ahead of Tiago Vivacqua and Matias Camparato. Lucas Salas, Marcos Regadas, Alcifel Manito, Miguel Mariotti, and Nelson Marcondes coming through for the top 10. Francisco Horta, Rodrigo Melo, Christian Moore, Nelson Monteiro, and Marco Billy are next. Then it's the trio of rookies, Silvio Monastoni, Leonardo Sanchez, and Eduardo Menossi. Then Linu Perez and Israel Salmen. 21st position for Flavio Champao. 22nd for Yosimar Junior ahead of Gustavo Janon, Vanya Pontes, Eric Santos, and Rumen Zimkovic. Retirements, well, there were quite a few of them in the end. Antonello Bassani, Marco Pisani, Paolo Souza, Seba Malucelli, Bruno Campos, and Carlos Campos as well. So a very dramatic end then to a very dramatic race, but it's Marcel Müller that takes the victory in magnificent form. Christian Hahn and Miguel Paludo have taken the title fight down to the wire here at Estoril. And so when we go to the championship finale in November, it's going to be a nail-biter. A tough weekend as well for Alcifel Manito and Miguel Mariotti in the sport category, as Marcos Regadas, the man who came into this weekend third in the points, has picked up a couple of race victories. So now it's going to be a real fight to the death in all 3 categories. There are no champions crowned in the penultimate round of the championship this year, as there was last year, of course, for Caio Chavez in Sprint Challenge Brazil in the rookie category. But certainly in Carrera Cup Brazil, the Carrera Cup, the sport class and the rookie class will all be decided in the final weekend of the championship at Interlagos. Excellent stuff Don't forget, we're not done with these drivers. The majority of them are going to be back on Sunday for the endurance race. We only get 3 endurance races over the season. The reigning endurance champion, of course, is a young man called Rubens Barrichello. Sadly, he and Werner Lutberger are not back to defend their title in 2025, but they were certainly the endurance champions last year. Here's your top 5 again, after a truly fantastic run. And they, of course, make their way to the podium for their provisional crowning of trophies. 5th place for Matias Camperato, 4th for Tiago Vivacqua, 3rd for Miguel Paludo, 2nd for Christian Hahn, and the race win for Marcel Müller. Now he's going to go bananas as we go for a double bubble of champagne spray here at the Qashqai Grand Prix week. Excellent run from Marcel Müller. He was absolutely dominant this weekend. Check out the battle between Christian Hahn and Miguel Paludo. That's crucial as far as the championship fight is concerned. Christian Hahn doing what he needed to do to keep his championship hopes alive, taking big points off Miguel Paludo, not once, but twice. Now we've got a showdown at Interlagos. Marcel Müller, though, is dominant here in Portugal. He took a victory in Portimao. He couldn't get the double there because the second race was won by Miguel Mariotti. But what a performance from Marcel Müller this weekend. Dominant. Now we've got the top 5 drivers in the sport category for their sport podium. And it really is going to be an exciting battle for them heading to the championship finale, as the 3 championship contenders will fight for the title at Interlagos. Miguel Mariotti, Alcifer Manito, and Marcos Regadas. A pair of victories for Regadas, who came into the weekend in 3rd place. Well, now we've got a very tight battle for the title. I think there's only going to be a handful of points between them as we head to Interlagos. So the top 5 drivers: P5 for Francisco Horta, 4th for Nelson Marcondes, 3rd for Miguel Mariotti, 2nd for Alcifer Manito, and the victory for Marcos Regadas. And so it's celebration time here at Estoril as our 5 sport drivers get busy with the fizzy here at Estoril. Excellent work. The majority of those drivers will be back. In fact, I think all 5 of them will be back on Sunday for the Endurance Race Challenge. And that's going to be a really exciting battle on Sunday. Don't forget, we're going to get 5 drivers in the Carrera Cup category. No Antonella Bassani, she will not return. Nor will Matias Camperato. But we'll certainly get Miguel Paludo back. He teams up with Alan Hellmeister. Marcel Müller will partner Felipe Fraga. Lucas Salas will team up with Rafael Suzuki. And then we'll have some really exciting battles, because we'll have Pedro Buzel teaming up with Enzo Fittipaldi, 2 great Brazilian families who have made massive headlines in IndyCar over the years. The Buzel and Fittipaldi families will lock horns and go to battle in the Carrera Cup battle in the endurance field. So now we're just waiting for the 5 rookie drivers to make their way out onto the podium. Here they come. And they will have their podium ceremony before we hand over to the Sprint Challenge Brazil for their 2nd race of the weekend. And after the insanity of yesterday, what are they going to give us on Friday afternoon? I'll correct myself straight away and say that it's still actually Friday morning, because it's not quite noon yet. But here come the drivers to the podium. And all 5 drivers have put on an excellent showcase. It should be 5th position for Flavio Champao, but I don't see him there on the podium. 4th place is Vanya Pontes, 3rd place is Eduardo Menossi, 2nd place Leonardo Sanchez, and it's a victory for Silvio Modestoni, which means that by my math, it's going to be just 9 points separating Modestoni and Sanchez in the title fight, heading to the finale in Interlagos. So all 3 categories will give us a showdown at the home of Brazilian motorsport in Formula 1, the Interlagos circuit. So that's it for the Porsche Carrera Cup this week. We'll hand over to those drivers again in the Porsche Endurance Series on Sunday. But let's have one more sprint race. Race 2, round 5 of the Sprint Challenge of Brazil. Here's your starting grid. Caio Chavez versus Daniel Newman. Challenge versus rookie. Mario Dallara, the leading sport driver on the second row of the grid. He lines up alongside Sadek Leiter as the two men alongside give chase, heading down to turn 1. Row 3 of the grid sees Caio Castro go wheel-to-wheel with Gerson Campos. That's going to be a really exciting battle over the course of this encounter. 7th on the grid for Lucas Locatelli. He lines up alongside Jose Morenito, stepping up, of course, from the rookie category to the sport class mid-season. 9th on the grid for Cecilia de Bello. Can she uphold the honours for the female contingent? She's alongside Matthias Roque, who got the victory in sport yesterday. Claudio Reina in the rookie category alongside Rafa Brocchi, pole position and 2nd place on the starting grid in the rookie category. Leonardo Herman's got a lot of work to make up from 13th. William Araujo has got a chance from 14th on the grid. Then it's George Filio starting P15 alongside Marcus Marquez, who was disqualified yesterday for his braking antics, as was Fernando Arruda. He lines up alongside Luis Souza. Claudio Chimiao and rookie winner yesterday, Rafael Bernardes. Then it's Andrei Gajinski alongside the rookie Fabian Taurabarelli, who actually came home 5th on his debut. The final driver on the starting grid is Ricardo Zilberman. He will line up in 23rd and last place. And there was certainly an awful lot of work for the drivers to have to give to their mechanics yesterday. We had a lot of hard work. I'm told that there is just one absentee on the starting grid that, of course, would have been there had the race all got under starters' orders yesterday. Just one driver that is not taking up the start of this race, as there should be 23 cars taking up the starting position on the grid. Just trying to work through the grid and figure out which of the drivers it is that is absent. And my math tells me that it's actually Andrei Gajinski. So Andrei Gajinski is not on the starting grid for this one. Look at the difference in temperature compared to yesterday. 21 degrees Celsius compared to what was about 27, 28. But it's the humidity that's going to make this an interesting race. 83% humidity. There could be rain over the course of the afternoon. Not that it's going to affect anybody out in the course, but it could make the test sessions and free practice sessions for the endurance race on Sunday interesting tomorrow if there is rainfall. But we don't need rainfall to have some fireworks out on the circuit in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. You've only got to rewind 24 hours for that to be the truth. On board then with the pole sitter, Caio Chavez. He's got the rookie driver, Dan Newman, alongside him. He had a nightmare race yesterday, didn't make the flag in the end. But can Dan Newman become a rookie overall race winner? He's on the front row of the grid alongside Chavez, who has been the undefeated and undisputed king of most of the races this year. But it's not over until it's over. Chavez will have a lot of pressure from Newman, Dallara, Leiter, Castro, Campos, Locatelli, Mora, Rebello, and Matheus Roque to boot. What can Leonardo Herman do, trying to charge back from 13th on the grid? A nightmare weekend for him so far. And we'll have to see what happens in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil 2025, Round 5, Race 2. In comes the safety car. It looks like they're actually going to go for a single file rolling start after the dramas of yesterday, as it was adjudged by the race control. So we are under starters' orders. Let's race at Estoril. A charge down to the first corner then. Caio Chavez gets a good run. Sadek Leiter is trying to get his move into 3rd position as they run through turn 1. Mario Dallara has lost a bit of ground then to the man in 2nd place, Daniel Newman. But Newman is still swarming all over the back of Caio Chavez as Sadek Leiter goes for broke on the man in 3rd place, Mario Dallara, who somehow managed to find his way back into 4th position despite being pitched into a spin in the midpoint of the race yesterday. But the drivers getting a much cleaner start under single file than they did in line-by-line formation. Though clearly the drivers were not to be trusted to go door-to-door. But down through the first couple of corners, Sadek Leiter holding on in front of Caio Castro, and then Gerson Campos right in behind him. A very good start to proceedings so far then, compared to what we saw yesterday. But don't hold your hats too close to your chest right now, because this is the Sprint Challenge Brazil. It only takes one dare-do maneuver to open up the taps on this race. We've got a couple of drivers trying it. Leonardo Herrmann on the inside line there, gets the overtaking move on Rafa Brocchi. That puts him into 12th place, tucked up behind Claudio Reina now. Now Claudio Reina is still the leading rookie as Rafa Brocchi is in danger of falling into the clutches of William Araujo. There is the leading rookie, that's Claudio Reina. Still charging hard in the Latin Porsche. But Caio Chavez has the lead over Daniel Newman, Mario Delara, Cedric Leiter, Caio Castro and Gerson Campos. Down into the first corner we go, and already there's a challenge into turn one. That is Caio Castro trying to take on Cedric Leiter down the inside line. And there's a little bit of a contact between them, but Cedric Leiter kept his foot in. He was able to get away from that. Though a little bit of rubbing is racing as far as Tom Cruise was concerned back in the day. But certainly in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil, you can't really afford rubbing. Cedric Leiter trying to get away once again from Caio Castro, hoping for a run on Mario Delara. So the drone will pick them up at the end of the foot of the back straight. And we'll see if Caio Chavez has actually got an opportunity to stretch away here from Daniel Newman. Fastest lap of the race so far is Caio Chavez, the only clean lap we've had so far, but Matheus Roque is the fastest driver in Sector 1 on this second lap of racing. As Caio Chavez twitches, so does Daniel Newman. You can see how physical the car is as it runs around this course. A lot of elevation change and undulation for the competitors. And the change of camber and crest definitely makes things interesting. Now, there is a note from the race officials. Looks like Cedric Leiter is under investigation for an incident on Caio Castro. Now, I wonder if they just felt that his decision to block his position around the outside was just a little bit too aggressive. Certainly, the race officials feel the need to investigate it, as now we watch Lucas Locatelli swarm around behind Gerson Campos on the run to turn one. Castro tries again on Leiter. And Campos is having to get very defensive indeed here on Lucas Locatelli as Cecilia Rebello gets a beautiful maneuver on the inside line of Jose Morenito, and she makes a textbook overtake. Good work from Cecilia Rebello. But now Matheus Roque is going to try and go after Jose Morenito. Don't forget that Matheus Roque won the sport class yesterday and very nearly the race overall. Finds himself all the way down in 10th position today. Just shows you how tricky it is from one race to the next to keep your balancing act afloat. But Cecilia Rebello doing a fantastic job here as she runs in P8, having worked her way ahead of Jose Morenito. Morenito is going to try again to put pressure on Cecilia Rebello, but she's not any slouch of a racing driver herself. Podium finisher and race winner in F4 Brazil last year, knows how to hack it. Jose Morenito is going to be putting her under some pressure, but look at the train of cars that's forming up behind them, because we've now got Matheus Roque, Leonardo Herrmann, and if we're not too far away from it, Claudio Reina and Rafa Brocchi may get a chance of it as well. Bello holds her nerve to hold the position as Leonardo Herrmann looks for a gap on the inside of Matheus Roque. But this is a great drive from the MR Porsche of Cecilia Rebello in the pink and purple machine, number 98. Running out in front of Jose Morenito and showcasing her skill beautifully. Off the final turn, out of the Parabolica. Leonardo Herrmann's got a run on Matheus Roque, but so too does Jose Morenito on Cecilia Rebello. Here we go. Down to turn one, as Cedric Leiter's got to shake off the attentions of Caio Castro again into the first corner. We'll look back and see if it's still okay for Rebello. It is indeed, but she runs wide. Cecilia holds that though as she collects it up on the exit. And now it's actually Jose Morenito in jeopardy, because he's in danger of losing ground to Matheus Roque. But Leonardo Herrmann fancies his move as well. So the battle rolls on. Oh, and there's Rafa Brocchi. Well, it only lasted 3 laps then before the melee and the drama kicked on. And that's going to help out Claudio Reina. And there's Leonardo Herrmann. Leonardo Herrmann spins on lap 4 as well. So first Rafa Brocchi, then Leonardo Herrmann, and Caio Castro's got ahead of Cedric Leiter. So Caio Castro has made the move. You'd be forgiven for thinking that race control said to them, look, can we just have 3 clean laps and then you can do what you want? Because as soon as we get into lap 4, the old tricks, the old mistakes, the old flamboyance comes out again. So Leonardo Hermann has spun it away. And so too, rather sadly, has Rafa Brocchi down to the back of the grid. This is great news for Claudio Reina. A possible rookie victory in the offing as Gerson Campos now tries to find the move on the inside of Saraglita. Safety car. Well, it was great while it lasted. We got 3 clean laps. And now it's back to business as usual. So let's have a look and see what happened. Oh, well, that's the aftermath of the incident. We didn't really see how it started. But certainly Rafa Brocchi going off in a big way out of turn 2. I estimate that he did that on his own, actually. And here's Leonardo Hermann. Oh, he's not going to drop it, is he? Yes, he is. He goes far too quick out of turn 4. Kicks up the gravel trap. And this is the thing with Leonardo Hermann. He is a race-winning driver overall in this championship. He's got the ability, he's got the talent, but he just doesn't have the level of patience sometimes. He's his own worst enemy. And that's why we're under safety car. Rafa Brocchi's car is stationary on the exit of turn 2. Though, for safety reasons, it makes so much more sense to throw the safety car. And I know you're sitting there at home thinking, well, he's quite a long way into the safety car. He's quite a long way into the gravel trap. Surely they can just cover that with yellow flags and then recover it. Well, A, no you can't, because that's a live snatch vehicle trying to recover a car in a gravel trap. And B, we actually had a couple of drivers go through that gravel trap yesterday in a fairly fast manner, so it's still a dangerous position. So Caio Chavez leads, Dan Newman second, Mario Delada third from Castro, Leiter, Gerson Campos, Lucas Locatelli, Cecilia Habello, Jose Morenito and Matheus Roque. Then it's the leading rookie driver. Oh, sorry, no, it's the second rookie driver, isn't it? Because, of course, Daniel Newman is the rookie. I'm so not used to seeing a rookie that far up the road. I keep forgetting that Claudio Reina isn't leading in rookie. He's second in rookie. So Claudio Reina, 11th place, ahead of George Filio, then Marquez Marquez, Fernando Aurora, William Araujo, Luis Souza, Claudio Chimiao, Rafael Bernardes, and then Fabian Tarbarelli, ahead of Leonardo Hermann, who recovered, and Ricardo Silverman, who's down at the back. The only retirement is Rafa Brocchi after his spin at turn 2. So the safety car out once again then with 16 minutes to go. There's an incident being investigated, and that is between George Filio and Rafa Brocchi. Okay, so that tells us that there was more to Rafa Brocchi's spin than meets the eye. So that's going to be investigated. We're not entirely sure what that's going to result in, whether that will be a penalty for Filio or whether they'll take no further action, but they've clearly decided it was an aggressive enough moment between 2 cars out on the circuit that they need to investigate it. But your race leader through all of the drama, through all of the chaos yesterday, is Caio Chavez once again. He came into the championship this weekend leading by 42 points. And after difficult days at the office for Gerson Campos and Leonardo Hermann, there is every chance that Caio Chavez could actually seal the championship today. Because, of course, Gerson Campos is down in 6th position, and Leonardo Hermann has just spun off down to 20th place. So all Caio Chavez essentially has to do is stay out of trouble, and the championship could well be his today if he takes the victory. We'll wait for official confirmation after the race if that does happen. But certainly in the sprint challenge category, Caio Chavez, who's had a fairly flawless season, is looking likely to get the job done here. In the sport category, of course, Lucas Locatelli led the points coming into the weekend, I should say. 94 points compared to Jose Morenito and Cecilia Rebello. Mario Delada, Daniel Newman and Matheus Roque. Well, none of them took the victory in the sport category yesterday in the top 5. It was Matheus Roque in P6 of the standings that got the job done. But that certainly shakes the title race up. And of course, in the rookie category, the dominant Daniel Newman failed to finish the race. So it was actually a victory for Rafael Bernardes, who only had 27 points coming into the weekend yesterday, compared to the 129 points that Daniel Newman came in with. So that tells you how exciting it's been over the course of this weekend in Sprint Challenge. But it looks to me as though with Newman still leading and Rayner in second place, there's going to be a very interesting points differentiation at the end of this one. Safety car lights out. So there's just 13 minutes left of the sprint week here at Estoril before the drivers put the cars away for the afternoon. They'll go to the airport, they'll greet their teammates who will all fly in from wherever they're flying in from, and they will join forces with their stablemates. Certainly in the challenge categories, Leonardo Herman gets to team up with Vito Battista, Sadaglaita teams up with Fabio Carboni, Silvio Modestoni gets to team up with Jeff Giassi in the Carrera rookie category. But in sport, you'll also get Cecilia Rebello teaming up with Pietro Rembano. Jose Morenita will go side by side with Matias Iorio. And we'll tell you all about that in detail tomorrow. But Caio Chavez getting ready out of the final turn. And look how close Daniel Newman is to him on the restart. Newman may get a shot here. We haven't had a rookie race winner this season, but we might just get one. 12 minutes to go here at Estoril for race 2, round 5, 2025. It's green, 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 green here at Estoril. And so Daniel Newman charges after Caio Chavez. He won't go hungry into turn 1. There's still a long way to go. Castro looking hungry on Delara. As through the first hairpin, the drivers get themselves set up ready for a big challenge. And Daniel Newman sets off after Caio Chavez in the hope that he can take an overall victory. If he does, he'll be on the top step of the podium 3 times on the podium ceremony. That's an incredible achievement. So out of the turn comes Daniel Newman. He's got Caio Chavez on the run. Has he got the confidence to go after the overall championship leader and take him on at the foot of the back straight? It's glapping quickly. Chavez is protecting the inside line, so it's up to Dan Newman now as to what he does. Mario Delara, third from Castro, Leiter, Campos, Locatelli, Rebello and Morenito on the inside line. That is the overtaking move coming in there from Fernando Arruda. Run wide from Marquez and Marquez. Oh, that was close. Little bit of argy-bargy there as William Araujo and Luis Souza tried to get in amongst that all. That's the 33 of William Araujo, who's in the spare car after he incurred so much damage yesterday. The drivers still working on it as they continue to work their way around the course. Still an interesting challenge for Caio Castro. He fancies his chances of an overall podium here on Mario Delara as Newman slowly starts to drop away from Caio Chavez, who's now got 10.5 minutes plus the final lap before he might just become the 2025 Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil champion, depending on the point score that we get from Gerson Campos down in P6 and Leonardo Herman down in P17. 10 minutes on the clock. Castro getting away from Sadaglaita, having got ahead of him just before the safety car. Going to see a replay. What's this? Down on the inside, that's Leonardo Herman. Going wheel to wheel there with a very racy Claudio Chimiao, I believe. Oh no, my apologies. That is Rafael Bernardes, who's going to go clean off the road. Oh, Rafa. Victory in the rookie category yesterday, down to the back in race 2 today. Well, that's how far down towards reality Rafael Bernardes has plunged. As the drone follows in the wheel tracks almost of Gerson Campos and Sadaglaita as they battle away for P5. Gerson Campos needs to pick up more points if he wants to keep in the championship fight heading to Interlagos. As Cecilia Rebello is now all over the back of Lucas Locatelli. This is for second in sport. And don't forget that Cecilia Rebello is still fighting for the Sport Class Championship title. And it is a little bit competitive there because Lucas Locatelli, albeit in second place now, has not had the easiest of weekends. Nor has Jose Morenito, who is right behind Rebello. So Cecilia Rebello holding off her championship opponent, Jose Morenito. A little bit of a run wide at Parabolica, but gets back on the turn once again. And I wonder if we're starting to get a few drops of rain out on the course here, because there's a couple of drivers, not just Cecilia Rebello, that have started to run wide in a few of these apexes. We had a fair bit of rain last year, and look what happened. There's absolute skittles all around the circuit in Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil and Sprint Challenge Brazil last year in the damp and greasy conditions. So they're all rather hoping, especially now they're all on slick tyres, that we're not going to get rain mid-race. But it does happen. 8 minutes left. And a big dive from Jose Morenito. Has a look on the inside of Rebello. Doesn't get the overtaking move finished off. Has to take the grass to avoid contact with Cecilia Rebello. So down the back straight once again. Not quite parallel to the start-finish straight, because it does curve off at an angle midway through the straight. But certainly a big challenge for all the drivers concerned there, as they all have something to prove. Leonardo Herman, by the way, is now up into P16. As Chavez still leads Newman, Delara, Castro, Leiter, and Gerson Campos. Caio Chavez leads challenge, 7.5 minutes to go. Let's ride on board with Chavez. Let's listen in. Great stuff for the championship leader and potentially the champion for the season, if today is anything to go by. Daniel Newman is still trying to push it. He just sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.1, compared to Caio Chavez, who's done a 1:43.4. And now Delara under pressure from Caio Castro into turn one. Delara misses his braking point, almost goes into the back of Dan Newman, slows the car down. Manages to keep the car pointing in the right direction as Caio Castro now has him in his sights. Delara defends, covers the line, but he drifts wide on the exit. Castro's going to get alongside him. Not a lot of room to maneuver. So Caio Castro's got to play it smart here on the exit. Could be very interesting when he comes off the turn. Sadek Leiter's got pressure from Gerson Campos as well. So this is going to be mighty close as they get down the end of the back straight, but no, Sadek Leiter and Gerson Campos remain in their positions, just as Mario Delara does. Oh, and that's an off. That, I'm afraid, is game over for Jose Morenito. No, sorry, that's Fabian Taraborelli. So Fabian Taraborelli, who managed to get his first podium finish yesterday, now falls to the back of the grid, but at least this time he can recover the car. So Fabian Taraborelli, let's see what happened. Was it all his own work? I'm afraid it was. He got a brilliant podium staying out of trouble yesterday. I'm afraid he's just sunk the plunger into trouble. Now, Mario Delara really under pressure from Caio Castro as they come onto the Parabolica. Castro fancies the podium here. He's already got it in fourth place, but he wants it to be third. He wants to knock Mario Delara off his perch. Delara drifts wide. Here comes Castro down the straight. Castro's going to be in the slipstream as they charge for that first corner. Ridiculously quick on the home straight. Castro looks left, looks right, because that's where Delara sends him. Delara's going to have the slower line. Castro needs to be careful. Slow in, fast out. Watch for Sadek Leiter. He's getting impatient as well. Gerson Campos is tight in too. Come on, man, get ahead of him or let us have a go. Track limits advantage being investigated for Matheus Roque. Oh, big run wide from Delara. And that'll do for Caio Castro. Castro gets ahead into third position. Big mistake from Mario Delara, and now he's got even more trouble to deal with, because that's Leiter, Campos, Locatelli, Rebello, and Jose Morenito all in close proximity. So what is Mario Delara going to do about them in the last 4.5 minutes? There's only one thing to be done. Go and get past Castro again. Let's see what happened. Oh, what a shame for Mario. He loses the car. The back end steps out as he gets too quick on the throttle. And their third position is gone. But has he got enough life in those tyres after that save to keep himself in the hunt for fourth position? He has to dive very deep into the chicane. As Cecilia Rebello dives in from magic overtake on Lucas Locatelli. That is the move of the race from Cecilia Rebello. That took so much guts and determination. Oh, and up goes Dallara. Dallara goes clean off the road this time, right in front of Rebello and Morenito. Oh, they were lucky. Goodness me, Mario Dallara was just a little bit too eager there. Was that all his own work again? I'm afraid it was. Pitches it on the curb. The car spits out, and look at his rejoin. That was so scary for Rebello and Jose Morenito. Side by side, that is Dallara now mixing it with Morenito and Locatelli. Well, this is excellent news for Rebello because her main two championship opponents, Locatelli and Morenito, are behind her. The Cecilia Rebello is looking good for a sport class victory after the move of her season. Diving on the inside line and Mario Dallara once again. Dallara really struggling for tyre life here. And the battle for second place is absolutely gusto, with Cecilia Rebello leading in the sport class, disappearing in her pink and purple Porsche. Magnificent work from Cecilia Rebello. Now, can she hold it to the flag? We have yet to have a female victory in 2025. We've had plenty of them in the past. Of course, we've had great performances from Antonella Bassani in Sprint Challenge. She stepped up to Carrera Cup, but she invited Cecilia Rebello to have a go at Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil in the endurance finale in 2024 in Interlagos, alongside the X Games Red Bull athlete Letizia Buffoni. They all said, come on, give this a go. You're going to enjoy it. And it turns out they were right. Cecilia Rebello has now well and truly caught the bug, and she's on course for her first win of the season in the sport category, in 6th place overall. But there's still only a second and a half between Caio Chavez and Dan Newman as we go into the gravel. That's where we go. It's Claudio Reyna. Reyna's got off there, and he's not the only one. Claudio Reyna goes off the circuit and he's into the gravel with George Filio. So let's see what happened to them. It's out of the final turn. And what's happened? Oh, Claudio Reyna comes in backwards, and George Filio has nowhere to go. Wow, that was nasty. So Claudio Reyna and George Filio, are we going to end the race under safety car here? I think we are. Because that's two cars well and truly in the gravel. It is indeed. Well, it's safety car to finish then. What a crazy week here. A crazy, crazy week here. Now, because Dan Newman, as the rookie driver, is ahead of the leading sport driver, it's not going to count as a sport class victory for Cecilia Rebello. So Dan Newman is going to be on the top of the podium in the sport category because, of course, in Sprint Challenge Brazil, sport and rookie are combined to make the result. So that is cruel fate for Cecilia Rebello, who is now the leading sport driver, but she's got Dan Newman ahead of her. So Dan Newman will technically take the victory in both sport and rookie. But there are the waiting pit crews for Caio Chavez as the time ticks down to 0, and I don't think we're going to get another lap in after all. I think they're going to throw the checkered flag a lap early. That does tend to happen in these circumstances. And for Caio Chavez, it's been an incredible season. Campos is down in 5th. Herman is down in 13th. I don't think this is going to be an unchallenged battle for the title anymore, because out of the final turn, Caio Chavez is going to cruise down the home straight, and it's going to be a checkered flag once again for Caio Chavez. What a fantastic weekend. He takes a pair of victories while his championship opponents have fallen by the wayside. And that's what it means to Caio Chavez. He knows that he is now uncatchable in the championship fight in the Sprint Challenge of Brazil. Estoril has been a very happy hunting ground for Caio Chavez, I should say. For Caio Castro too, it has to be said. He came home 3rd in today's race. So Caio Chavez takes another fabulous victory. And I'm fairly sure that's the championship done and dusted for Caio Chaves. Celebrations down in the pit lane at the end of a fantastic sprint challenge weekend. There may have been drama, chaos and pandemonium, but not for the number 54. 544 got the victory in both Porsche Carrera Cup races. 54 got the win in both sprint challenge races. Dan Newman takes the win in rookie and also, of course, in sport. So an excellent result for him as he comes through to take a pair of trophies. But let's not take anything away from the leading sport driver. She may not get the credit for winning the race, but she was the leading sport driver on this occasion. Cecilia Rebelo. Absolutely fantastic result for her as the leading sport driver. Dan Newman was ahead of her, so he'll get the victory. And there are the scenes down in pit lane to celebrate Caio Chaves' achievement as he takes a pair of victories here at Estoril. And I think it's about to be confirmed that Caio Chaves is now uncatchable in the 2025 Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil Championship fight. A miserable weekend for Geração Campos and Leonardo Herrmann by comparison. And all Caio Chaves needed to do was stay out of trouble, which he did for both races. He only lost the lead briefly in race 1 yesterday, fought back to snatch it on the final restart in the first race yesterday, drove this race from lights to flag, and with his main championship opponents, Geração Campos and Leonardo Herrmann, outside the top 3, that pretty much gives Caio Chaves an undisputed points tally. He'll come back into the pits to celebrate. It's pretty much crossing the T's and dotting the I's that he has to do now at Interlagos in November. An absolutely phenomenal weekend for Caio Chaves. It's been absolutely dominant. So it's been an absolutely fantastic weekend all the way. But for Caio Chaves, it's been dominant. An absolutely astonishing result for Caio Chaves. 2 wins out of 2, and that is what it means. A spectacular performance. And there is the victory for Dan Newman, who will take 2 winning trophies in sport and rookie. But Caio Chaves is on top of the roof for the 2nd time this week. I wonder if he'll make it a hat-trick of victories when he goes into the endurance tomorrow. And of course, Caio Chaves is going to be battling very hard indeed in tomorrow's race. In the weekend's race, I should say, as he gets himself ready for a big challenge in the endurance encounter, I do believe. Just trying to double check who he's actually partnering up with, and I'm not entirely sure he is actually. Maybe he's not competing on Sunday. I'm not sure everybody is. Quite a few of them are, of course, but not everybody will do so. But certainly for Caio Chaves, that's a double victory here at Estoril, and a very important pair of victories it is too, as that pretty much puts to bed any chance of either Geração Campos, Leonardo Herrmann, or anybody else getting a look in for this championship fight in 2025. Great effort from Daniel Newman this weekend. As the leading rookie, he will take the top step of the podium in both the sport and rookie podium ceremonies. But spare a thought for the lady who was that is Cecilia Rebelo. On paper, it's not her victory, but in reality, as the leading sport driver home, it certainly should be. Excellent result for Cecilia Rebelo after an amazing drive. She crossed the line ahead of Lucas Locatelli and Mario Dallara, with Jose Molinito and Matthias Roque further back. So it'll be Newman, Rebelo, Locatelli, Dallara and Nito that come through for the podium in sport. And then in rookie, it'll be Newman again, Arruda, Araujo, Bernardes, and Claudio Chimiao. Not as crazy as yesterday, but still fairly untamed. Excellent racing once again. Before we get ourselves ready then for the second endurance race of the year, back on the 6th of July, we had an amazing encounter at Portimao. Now we're going to do it all again at Estoril. Before we go to the final round of the Sprint Championship, of course, which will be on the 8th and 9th of November as a support race to the Sao Paulo Grand Prix on the same weekend as Formula One. What an opportunity for the showdown to go down to the wire. And then, of course, we'll have their final race of the season, which will be the endurance race at Interlagos once again on the 22nd of November. A fantastic end to the season is in prospect now. Between all that, of course, the trophy drivers will get to battle away on the fifth weekend, for their fifth weekend plus one, which was cancelled postponed, from the first weekend of August. It's now going to take place at Velocida on the 12th to 13th of September. So we're looking forward to seeing that unfold. But for the main body of drivers, we now just have the sprint at Interlagos on the Formula One weekend and the endurance races here at Estoril on Sunday and at Interlagos in November. Some fantastic races, though, this weekend. All four of them have had plenty of drama and excitement nailed to them. But certainly in the title fight, there's only one clear winner incumbent heading to Interlagos, and that is the man in the number 54 car, Caio Chaves, the very talented youngster, has pretty much earmarked his title here at Estoril. And he can return back to Brazil with his head held high. He'll not be competing in the endurance race as far as I'm aware, although several of the competitors that were here today will get the chance to do that, of course. Miguel Peludo will return alongside Alan Helmeister. Lucas Salas will be beside Rafael Suzuki. Pedro Bözel and Enzo Fittipaldi will join the Carrera Cup brigade. And Marcel Muller will be partnered up with Felipe Fraga. So now it's time to greet the top 5 drivers home. Of course, in Sprint Challenge, all 3 classes combined for an overall podium here. So we're going to get to see Dan Newman come away with 3 trophies, a 2nd place overall, and a victory in sport, as well as a victory in rookie. An amazing weekend finally comes to fruition for Dan Newman. So here are the top 5 drivers then on the rostrum after a very exciting second race in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil, round 5, race 2. 5th place for Gerson Campos, 4th place for Sadek Leiter, 3rd for Caio Castro, 2nd for Daniel Newman. And your race winner, Caio Chaves. 2 wins out of 2 for Chaves, and it looks pretty much clear-cut that he is going to be this year's champion in 2025 in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. We will await official confirmation. It could be as early as this afternoon. It could be all the way in November. But with that kind of points lead, it's pretty much done and dusted. A masterful season in 2025 from Caio Chaves. He has been the class of the field this year. And even though he's taken the victory today under safety car proceedings, a win is a win is a win. So in Carrera Sport on the weekend, we're going to see a lot of great talent rock up in the Porsche Endurance Series. Alcy Feldman Sr. will be arriving in his Tag Heuer Porsche number 1, I do believe, as will Alcy Feldman Nito in the Lightning McQueen car. So there is the sport podium. Daniel Newman is on the top step, but of course the lady beside him is the real moral victor of the sport category. She was the first sport driver home. So it's a victory for Dan Newman. 2nd for Cecilia Rebello, 3rd for Lucas Locatelli, 4th for Mario Delara, and 5th for Jose Morenito. But congratulations to both Dan Newman and to Cecilia Rebello, the race of her season, and for my money, the sport winner. Only the regulations combining rookie and sport deny her the chance to be on the top step of the podium. But for me, The sport winner is quite clearly Cecilio de Bello. Great drive. But of course, we do combine the sport and rookie to make the sport podium in Sprint Challenge Brazil. We don't in Carrera Cup, but we do in Sprint Challenge, which means that it's a double victory for Dan Newman. Second overall, winner of sport, winner of rookie. Which means he is now the only driver in this race that will return to the podium for a second time of asking. And that means he is on the podium a total of 3 times. Amazing display then from Daniel Newman as he is joined on the podium by Fernando Arruda in second, William Araujo in third, Rafael Bernardes in fourth, and Claudio Chimiao in P5. What a busy week it's been here at Estoril in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil paddock. But folks, we are not finished yet, because even though these 4 races are done and dusted at Estoril, we're going to take an afternoon off, then we'll come back tomorrow and get testing underway for the 300 kilometers on Sunday. The Porsche Endurance Series will take its 2nd race of the season, and we'll be back to cover every single lap of qualifying and every single lap of the race live on Sunday, both here on the Porsche Brazil YouTube channel and on Motorsport TV. It's going to be a fantastic day of racing on Sunday. We hope you've enjoyed the last 2 days of action. I certainly have. Estoril always provides great action in this championship, and certainly in 2025, that is true once again. Congratulations to Marcel Muller and to Caio Chavez. They win in the sprints, but can Marcel Muller make it a hat-trick of victories by taking victory beside Felipe Fraga on Sunday in the Porsche Endurance Series? Or will his main rival, Miguel Paludo, teamed up with Alan Hellmeister, take a win away from him? Only time will tell. From me, Jake Sanson, from my producer, Nicholas Ottolu, thank you so much for being with us. We will be back on Sunday morning for qualifying and Sunday afternoon for the 300 kilometers here at Estoril. From all of us, it's goodbye, and we'll see you on Sunday for more great action from Porsche Brazil. Bye for now.